Hello and good evening again. This is Jake, aka Disco Soup, coming at you with the 11th day of the RPG Character Creation Challenge, as hosted by the really cool TARDIS captain of RPG.net. They are also a blogger and run a pretty cool Discord. So today we are making a character for Modiphius, John Carter of Mars RPG. Way back when I got a free copy of this, because the guys at Modiphius are really cool and I used to work for them as a freelancer. That's a story for another day and for another character creation, because I didn't work on this game, but I really like it. John Carter of Mars, a little bit of a background. The game uses Modiphius' proprietary house system, the 2D20 system. They tend to use that for all of their RPGs, including John Carter, Dune, which I have yet to play, even though I'm a huge Dune fan, and Star Trek Adventures. Star Trek Adventures is very much my jam. I used to be a freelance writer on that game line, and it was a blast. Each version of these rules is custom tailored to the setting that they're designing. So you get, it's not quite the same with each one. Oh, I think they have a Conan RPG too, because they want to make sure that the rules fit the story, and that's something I very much respect. John Carter, if you're unfamiliar, is probably considered the granddaddy of all Sword and Planet stories. It's a character who's over 100 years old. I want to say 1912 was when the first John Carter story was published. It was called A Princess of Mars by Edgar Rice Burroughs, who is best known as the creator of Tarzan, but John Carter predates Tarzan. Edgar Rice Burroughs created a cool shared universe. Among all this, John Carter takes place in the same fictional setting as Tarzan, as well as his Hollow Earth series and his Venus series. It's Mars, a dying planet, and I will put out the caveat that it was written very much in its time, and Edgar Rice Burroughs was very much a man of his time. There are some aliens that may be seen as insensitive to modern audiences, and the good folks at Modiphius have made sure to call this out, as well as to they really make sure that there's no element of genetic determinism as far as behavior and intelligence goes. So with that said, we are on Chapter 2 of John Carter of Mars. We are going to be making a character. Come up with a concept first. Okay? Well, a wandering princess. Deja Thoris, a reformed assassin might be nice. An airship raider might be interesting. An adventuring scientist. I do like the idea of that. But here, a Panthan warrior, a Martian soldier for hire. I think we're going to go with that. That's basically, a Panthan is kind of like a Ronin. Oops. That's our document from last night when we did Blood and Snow for ICRPG. Okay, so we can come up with his name later. A pretty Barsoomian name. Barsoom, by the way, being the name of Mars in the setting. Step 2, starting attributes. Each character in John Carter of Mars has a number of attributes. These are used to determine a character's general aptitudes and abilities, forming the core of most mechanical tests and die rolls in the game. So, unlike some games, attributes in John Carter of Mars are deliberately abstract and result-focused. They focus more on how a character accomplishes something, and less on the exact physical or mental capabilities used to accomplish the task. I get that in Star Trek, the attributes, and then like the skills you have, or the sub-attributes, they're named for like starship departments. in some cases like con, medical, security, and you would handle that like security for fighting, obviously, con for piloting the ships and so forth. So 6 attributes representing a character's capabilities. They are cunning, daring, empathy, might, passion, and reason. So cunning makes sense. It's your brains. Daring might need some explanation. Comes into play when a character is at risk, and movement is important. Movement, piloting, and defense. Empathy, seeking to understand another person. Empathy is a skill and a quality that the characters of Mars are sorely lacking in Burroughs' stories, and that's actually kind of a plot point. Might doesn't really need to be explained, I would think. Passion, to lead, love, or entertain. Essentially, charisma. And then reason is... reason would be intelligence, while cunning would be more wisdom, to put them in terms that are more familiar to most RPGs. So, your attributes start at 4. They can go as high as 12. And we're going to go through the process of raising and adjusting them. And then afterwards, we're going to add 2 extra points wherever we think we need them. So, cunning 4, daring 4, alphabetical, empathy 4, might 4, passion 4, and reason 4. So, for instance, if I were making John Carter the hero of this, I would probably put his daring and might very high, and then perhaps his reason or passion. Or rather, actually, instead of his reason, his cunning and passion. His empathy is high for a Martian, still kind of maybe low for a human. So selecting your race. And this is where that sensitivity I mentioned before comes into play. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 species you can choose from in this book. The Earthborn is a human. It will be the rarest. They don't show up very often in Burroughs' books, although there is at least one in every book, because the hero is a human who gets to Mars not by means of spaceships, but by means of some sort of astral travel. So it's not as if humans are regularly visiting Mars. So red Martians are the most common, followed by green. Earthborn, again, very rare. Yellow Martians are... well, they're not in the first couple books. They show up in the 3rd book. They turn out to have... they're rumored as a myth. And then the black Martians are considered pirates. And I'm trying not to give you any spoilers if you haven't read the books. But the black Martians show up in the 2nd book. And I actually like them. However, you'll see when we get to the pictures of them. Oh yeah, everyone on Mars is telepathic. These are black Martians, by the way. But yeah, the afterlife here, don't pause and read this if you haven't read the first or the 2nd book. This is a red Martian. This looks very much like Dejah Thoris. She was the most famous of the red Martians. Okay, so red Martian, let's see, do we want them? I mean, that's... Panthans tend to be red. They're part of that society. Green Martian, okay, so much less humanoid, 4 arms, towering. Funny thing is, as strong as they are on Mars, humans who visit Mars are massively stronger even than these guys because of the lower gravity. This is a yellow Martian. I like the yellow ones. I'll probably end up making a yellow one. They're the part of the ancestors of the red Martians. This is a human. Not going to do a human because there really only should be one. the firstborn of Mars, the Black Martians. Yeah. I will point out that in his writings, Edgar Rice Burroughs, he made most of the Black Martians, but not all of them villains. He also did take care to describe these Martians as not looking like humans or any group of humans that you might associate with the name Black Martians. That said, he wasn't like a progressive guy when it comes to race relations, so I'm not giving him an out with that. I think I'm going to go with the Yellow Martian. They live in these cool cities, so some things you might need to know going into it. All Martians, including the human-looking ones, are oviparous. People think the yellow Martians are a myth, but that's just because they keep to themselves in the North Pole, and they don't... people knew that they did exist at one point, but they do eventually start dealing more with the rest of their society. So, attribute bonuses. +1 each to cunning and daring, and then +1 each to 2 of the following. Empathy, might, or reason. So, let's see. Cunning and daring. 5. And then let's see. Basically, empathy, might, or reason. Let's do empathy and might. And look at that. We're going in alphabetical order again. What you know. You speak and read common Barsoomian. There's a common language among all of the Martians. You know of your nation and its neighbors, including the ancient history of the Okar who once ruled much of Barsoom. You know how to survive in the frozen lands near your home. You know the creatures and perils of the frozen waste, particularly the deadly apts. Those are fearsome beasts. You know the basics of Okar science, including the magnetic science used by Kadabra's guardian. What you don't know. You don't know much of the lands far from your Arctic home. You are not skilled in surviving extreme heat or other foreign climes. So that can cause a problem for you later if you ever leave, because the rest of Mars is not as cold as that. What you can do. You know the basics of self-defense, including the use of blades and firearms, as we see here from the dual-wielding, shield-holding lady. You can operate basic machinery and use medicines and machines common to Okar culture. You can fly most vehicles under normal conditions and ride trained mounts. You are adept at Arctic survival and navigating in such climes. You are unhindered by wearing heavy furs and clothing, especially in harsh weather. I really, really love this second column that shows up in all of these character species, because it just really helps with getting you into the game. So, human, mixed heritage. Select your archetype. Okay, so this is more like your class. Airship officer. Mars has all these cool floating skyships that use light rays to fly. They're very cool. An assassin, a beastmaster. I do like beasts. Like I like in games the option to have like an animal companion, or to be able to summon a bunch of animals to do your bidding. A duelist, an envoy, which is, you know, like an ambassador, a spy. The Burroughs books were not all just sword fights and hacking and slashing and shooting. There is a good deal of intrigue in them, and it's pretty fun. An explorer, that might be okay. A gladiator, maybe. A guide, a healer, a panthan. Okay, so a panthan. Mercenary Ronin. To daring and might. This is your suggested talent. So there's a bunch of talents in the book, but this is what you would probably take. Who dares wins. Strike swiftly and fiercely, will often compensate for small numbers or other tactical disadvantages. You learned long ago to hit hard, fast, and put foes down without hesitation. Circumstance. And it's really nice because when you get to your talents, you'll have this bit of circumstance. It tells you when you can use this talent. When using a particular type of weapon. Then effect. Pick a category of weapon, sword, pistol, spear, etc. You inflict additional die of damage and add 1 to the total damage rolled on successful attacks with that weapon. Note, you can use additional grades of this talent to apply this effect to other weapons. 1 per grade. Okay, so that's interesting. You know, you hit hard. A soldier, a spy. Let's see what a gladiator does. So you get your attribute bonuses, and then, are you not entertained? Okay, when fighting in front of a crowd or audience, you can spend momentum, which is one of the meta currencies, during a fight to sway a crowd of audience onlookers to your side. I don't want to do that. To areas, you roll 1 less combat dice than normal. Okay, well, that's nice. And then the Beastmaster, Call of the Wild. Commanding or controlling an animal. You may automatically control the actions of 1 minion beast for the rest of the scene. You may control additional minion class beasts for 1 momentum per additional beast. If attempting to use this talent on an exceptionally loyal beast bonded to another, you may only control the beast for 1 turn. You know what? Okay, we're going to go with the Pantheon. I do like this. Might have also done the Fencer. The book which introduces the Yellow Martians has this really cool scene where John Carter gets into a duel with an old man who happens to be the greatest swordsman probably in the solar system. And John has this whole bit about how every single stroke, every single thrust just taxed him to his limits of not just his body but his mind, of foreseeing and adapting and reacting, and how it actually describes the process, I would say, of leveling up in a game. How he says that he didn't think he had anything else he could do to learn as a swordsman because he himself was considered a master swordsman. So, anyways, I really like that. Let's say Pantheon. Okay. Oh, they used the pound sign for the dice in whatever font they used. Okay. And so you know additional things. The most popular mercenary companies in those nations and organizations that frequently hire them, tactics and strategy, especially small unit and guerrilla tactics, and the history of military conflicts in Barsoom, especially those making extensive use of mercenaries. Then what you can do: fight with common military weapons, negotiate basic contracts, plan small-scale assaults. I wonder what that Beastmaster, because I would like to maybe specialize later in Beastmastering. Yeah, okay. Which lets you be like a combination trapper, beast trainer, and veterinarian. Okay, we could create our own archetypes. Now we're going to select a descriptor for our character. Oh wait, shoot, what was the stat gain? +2 each to daring and might. Okay, 7 and 7. Okay, so these stats, it's a roll under system with 2d20, and yeah, having them higher is better. So let's see. A descriptor: bold, cunning, and daring. Okay. Courageous, daring, and empathy. Maybe, actually. Fierce, brash, canny, charming. I'm not going to think about these bonuses. I'm going to think about the personality I want. Dashing, maybe. Stalwart, romantic, thoughtful, savage, disciplined. Savage seems a bit much. Maybe dashing. Maybe brash. Bold. Bold. +1 cunning and daring. Okay. Archetype, not path. What was I thinking? Talents. So, characters, especially player characters, have talents. Talents represent those unique or developed abilities that may make a character special. Talents represent a skill, natural aptitude, or even an arcane power or psychic talent. So, Players can start with 5 grades of talents, in addition to the talents already provided by your race and archetype. These can be designed for the player to fit some specific need or select from Chapter 3 talents. So, wait a second. So you get 5 grades, which, because you can upgrade... I'm sorry. What talent do we get from our species? Oh, some of them have that. Some of them don't. Okay. Like humans have. So leaps and bounds, yeah. Humans can, like, almost fly. They can leap so far. So if you were playing a human or Jesumian, if you will, you wouldn't have that go against your max ranks of talents. Okay. And starting renown and equipment. But hold up. Where are the talents? I forget. Oh, Chapter 3, right. Okay. So, let's go to Chapter 3. And they have tons of pre-gens, which are pretty cool. Okay, so talents. You can design your talent, that's right. But I really don't want to design my own. I do like how they have talent set up here. Again, it's slightly different from game line to game line, but this one works really well. Acrobatic dodge, maybe. Dodging is good. Rifleman, eye for danger. Oh yeah, I have to determine what weapon this is for too. Using a particular type of weapon. In this case, we're going to do swords. There's a lot of sword fighting in this world because that's just what they do. They also have bullets that explode when exposed to light, so they tend to use a lot of swords instead of dangerous stuff like that. Keen marksman, expert rifleman, passionate rider. Okay, well, substitute your passion for any role to guide, but however, we don't have much of a passion. We're very daring and very mighty. So let's see. Eye for danger, that's a good one. That's a good one. Okay. Eye for danger. When looking at another character, you can tell if people have weapons on them. Okay. Expert aim, just a when suffering wounds, maybe. Witty repartee, deadly pistolier, suppressing fire. You can fix things. Parry. When defending at immediate range against a physical attack, roll 1 bonus d20 for a defend action against immediate range physical attack. Okay, we might do this one. Disarming parry, because that lets you take your opponent's sword away. So, flurry of blows. Attack twice. So yeah, I think we're going to take disarming parry. Opponent. And then we have 2 more points we can do. We could do like something pistol related. Okay, let's do cut them down and eye for danger. So we're just a straight up good swordsman. We're not necessarily the pantheon that takes the battlefield so much all the time as Maybe one who's hired as a bodyguard or a duelist. Okay. So cut them down lets you kind of just mow through little minions automatically. You can just go through the mooks and then eye for danger. Okay. I think this is actually a pretty balanced character as far as like what he can do. He's going to be very good in combat. He'd be a very fantastic bodyguard or duelist. A marine boarder from airship to airship. But he's not going to be great at everything. Okay, so now we're going to go back. And yeah, you can, there are some kind of cases where if you want to start with higher level characters, if you will. Hope you can't hear my family in the background. I apologize for that. So, starting renown and equipment. Once you have your talent selected, give yourself renown and equipment. Renown is part of your character advancement. All characters except Earthbound-born receive some starting renown to purchase titles, allies, contacts, and other advantages at the beginning of play. Characters tend to be important figures in their respective homelands and cultures. So, starting renown is the same as renown to earn and play. Chapter 6, Growing Your Legend. We get 10 renown. And common gear. Okay, so. Okay, let's say our gear. Clearly we're going to have a sword. The light armor harness that they have. Furs that they wear, because we're yellow Martians. And, probably that's it. For now is all we need. Oops. Okay. And the core equipment. While most characters carry various pieces of equipment, many player characters have some core equipment. An item that they always have available can easily replace if stolen or lost. Oh yes, I forgot about that. So, a specialized talent for each grade of it. With each grade costing 5 XP, the characters get one piece of equipment designated as core equipment. Possession of specialized or very useful items may require more than one grade. With one exception, here, down to here. All starting player characters may start with one grade worth of core equipment representing a common weapon, item, or object they are rarely without. Earthborn characters begin with no core equipment, coming unknown and unarmed to the savage world of Barsoom. Additional pieces of core equipment can be purchased during character generation or play. All core equipment has a rank which indicates the cost and talent grades to possess the item. For most items this is 1, but larger goods such as flyers, ancient artifacts, or some mounts or animal companions may cost more. So, we'll just get rid of this armor harness, because armor, it's not really armor. It's like those chainmail bikinis, but the men wear them too. Okay, sword. Equipment, rank 1. If you could tell, I've had this game, I've read it, I've never yet made a character for it, and I'd love to have it. But you don't always have the group to play. So, now we get to choose a flaw. An anti-talent. So, what happens is, this flaw can kind of compel you to do something. And you can spend meta currency to keep that from happening, but otherwise, it's going to mess you up. So, heroic fury. Your courage is complemented by hot-blooded righteousness when faced with an act of wrongdoing or oppression. Every turn you spend not acting to stop it causes you to lose 2 momentum. Overprotective. Lose 5 momentum. Whew. When someone you're protecting gets hurt. Or take fear damage. No, I'm not going to do that. Self-sacrificing. during a scene where an ally or other player's life is in mortal peril, narrator can ask you to take the place of that character and lose 3 momentum. Okay. Maybe self-sacrificing. Soft-hearted? No. That's Yellow Martians are not. Tired of opportunity. Okay, we'll do self-sacrificing. And you don't need to know many rules about it. Essentially, if an ally is in danger, you have to take their place unless you spend 3 momentum. Okay, so names. Solon Sorav. Let's say Pantheon Warrior. Yellow. Let's say their name is Tull. Sounds sufficiently Martian, maybe? I don't know. Maybe it sounds like a flute player who ends up being renowned as a heavy metal musician, even though they're not. So the renown. Can we get anything with the 10 renown that we start with? Let's see, chapter 6. Chapter 4. Chapter 4. Chapter 6. Renown, look at that. So, add a talent. 5 XP per grade of talent. Okay, so yeah, you could, if you started with that, change a flaw. Increase one of your attributes a first time, a second time, a third time. Okay. Add a piece of core equipment, handheld. So one thing I like about that, essentially, when you are increasing your stats, it just starts at 10. It doesn't matter if, for instance, oh yeah, we have, 5 more points to spend on this? Well, and that's the case. Let's get these up a little bit. And we'll do 9. Okay. So, for instance, if we're getting our daring up to 10, it only costs us 10 points. If we're getting our empathy up to 6, it only costs us 10 points. But our daring, we can bring up to the maximum of 12 for 10, 20, 40, 70 points. However, if we wanted to put that effort in for empathy, because it's already started so low, it would be 70, 150, 310. It would be 630 renown to get empathy all the way up. Or if you started somehow at the minimum of 4 and wanted it all the way up, it would be like 1270. And I appreciate that design because that kind of shows that it's a harder struggle to make up for a weakness. Okay, so if we wanted to, we could add a talent, but I think we won't. Well, I will say there are a ton of game books in this line, including like source books for the species, some era source books, adventures. They're all pretty good. I absolutely love Modiphius production values, and this is not going to be the only Modiphius game that we work with for the character creation in January. Anyways, I'm going to let you all go. I hope you have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow.